Speak up, show up, time to take the lead. Resilient shore from the planet seed. We write the story, every page bleeds. Victory's the anthem, fulfilling the need. Not some prologue, bruise punches like a storm, but we duck, we weave, reshape the norm. Hardy holds a torch, guiding through the maze. Victory's the mission in the darkest days. Real leaders rise, no scripts, no charades. Built from the ashes where legends are made. Speak truth, break chains, stepping through the light. Rewrite the history, transform the fight.
Welcome to Speak Up, Show Up, Lead, the podcast for people who've been through the hard stuff and kept going. I'm JJ Hardy, Army veteran, leadership coach, and the guy behind the book, Speak Up, Show Up, Lead. Every week, I'll bring you stories and strategies from everyday warriors, resilient leaders, and those rebuilding with purpose. Whether it's a solo message or an unfiltered conversation, you'll walk away with tools, truth, and the fire to keep going. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Speak Up, Show Up, Lead. I'm your host, JJ Hardy. So today I'm going to be doing a solo episode, and this solo episode is, I'm not going to have any guests like I normally do. You guys all usually see that on here, and that's okay. To me, it's just me, you, and to me, it's a little bit about the truths of leadership that a lot of people don't talk about. And so I'm going to get into that a little bit today. So here's the deal. Leadership is not something that's always inherent. It definitely wasn't for me. I mean, it wasn't handed to me in a classroom or anything like that. I didn't read a book to become a leader. I learned the real lessons through experience. I failed a lot. I did a lot of good things, received a lot of good feedback. I received a lot of mentorship. And, honestly, my judge of leadership was always, what other people thought about the operation, what other people thought about how I was communicating with them and all of those things. So really there was a lot of adversity there, and it was learning through my successes and failures. This episode is for those who are building your leadership from the ground up. And really the only way you can do that is through experience. So if you want to use military lingo, one battle at a time. So let's talk about the myth of the natural leader. Let me take you back to the beginning. The first leadership role I ever had, actually, I was in the military, and it was even before I got that promotion. And then I'll talk about after I was promoted. No one actually told me the good way, the right way, the wrong way. The best guidance I actually had was from somebody a little bit later on after I got promoted. And so it was actually that, every leader is going to be great and they're going to be horrible at the same time. So your real goal is to get better, but to be the best that you can be and learn those lessons from everybody else. So learn the good things that people do and learn the bad things. Don't do the bad things, and then just carry on those good qualities as well as the good qualities that you move along with. But the first leadership role I ever had, I remember I was told, and this was right before my promotion actually, but it was still kind of a leadership role because I had a small team. I was told to get out in the front of people and march them. And this is so consistent with so many first leadership experiences because I didn't feel like I had a voice. And when in the military, when you march people, you call what's called cadence. And that's when you scream out I guess it's like a song, but it's meant to keep people in step, and you got to say it a certain way. And I knew the cadence, and I was saying the cadence, but nobody was really repeating after me. Maybe a few that were really close to me. But the reason they weren't repeating after me, because I wasn't confident. I had no experience doing it. I hadn't had a chance to practice that before. And so when it came to being around those other people, I didn't really think that they wanted anything to do with me being up there And so I wasn't confident. I was questioning myself. And as a result, my voice was very quiet. Everyone thinks that being a leader is about being confident and about being loud or the smartest person in the room. The best leaders are built, not born. They're made in pressure. And what happened to me in that moment was, you know, after I was done and we got to where we were going, done marching, and we got to where we were going, my great leadership pulled me off to the side and they said, "Would you like to work on this?" And the reason that this is so consistent with so many leadership positions that I had is because I did say yes. I was open-minded to it, mainly because I just got done looking real stupid. And as a result of looking stupid, I had the hu- I had I so when that person said, "Let me help you get better," inside me, I was thinking to myself, "I never want to do that again." But then I was also thinking, well, but I want to work my way up through the ranks. So I need to learn how to get better at this. And so he helped me. And then I did. And then I got promoted. And then I failed at a lot of other things. And when you're given a team and you start failing at things, you look stupid so often. And it's normal. And if you're out there listening to this and you are failing and looking stupid and doing things, hopefully you're learning from these things too. But if you don't have that person that steps in and says, "Let me show you how to do this better," then you got to find that person. So let me just go ahead and say that the one myth of leadership is that it's natural. It's just not. You have to build these qualities. There are some people that they just come naturally to. I've seen it in my past as well. But what I will say is work on it. Now, real leadership moments, they don't necessarily happen on stage. And when I say on stage, that means publicly. So all the bad stuff and the good stuff can happen publicly, but the important stuff happens in the background. So let's go back to that marching situation, right? The great leader that I had, he took me off to the side and he worked with me and helped me get better. He explained to me what worked for him, what didn't work for him, and he helped me find out that in that situation when it came to leading those people in a march, he helped me understand what worked for me. One of the very first things he said is, "What worked for me may not work for you, but let's work together and figure this out." That is one of those important things that happen behind closed doors that no one ever sees. And actually, it's really, really important that it happens that way. And if you don't have a mentor, you got to find one, because if you don't, you're going to struggle. Now, the important thing is once you get that position, you got to leverage your team. You can't just rely on mentorship all the time because it's not always going to be there. You got to give up some of that control and find people to help you do these things that need to get done. Doing that's actually going to make you more of an authority, not only to your team, because you just got done showing them that you can trust them by delegating a little bit and giving them some of that work, but also to your peers and also to your seniors, because you're doing something that a lot of people struggle with, and that's delegate. Now, don't expect people to go out and handle these tasks that you're pushing down perfectly. You have to communicate with these people. And when you communicate, it shows that you're willing to not only give up some of that stuff that you've been doing all this time and now you're passing off to somebody else, but also that you're willing to explain how it's done. And don't just talk and talk and talk, give a little bit, say, "What do you think of that?" And once you say that, listen, because everything that people do not understand, they will tell you. And be clear with all these things, because fancy words they don't build trust, but clear expectations do. Now, one thing that I've learned out in the civilian world after getting out of the military is that, my gosh, turnover is high at so many companies. That's why I started Victory Leadership Coaching. And why is retention horrible? Why is turnover so horrible? Well, because people don't leave bad jobs. They leave bad managers. They leave bad business owners. They leave bad directors, so on and so forth. And the reason they do that is because they don't feel that they're getting enough pay. They don't feel that they're getting enough, they're getting fair treatment. They don't feel like they're getting enough information. They don't feel like they're being empowered to do the things that they need to do. But if you are willing to give up some of that control and you're willing to suck up the pride and explain things to people after delegating and help them understand, you're going to be winning because a lot of people struggle at this. I learned the hard way, you know, check in with your people often. I will say that one of the biggest pieces of advice that I was given was actually long before I was ever in a leadership position. And my grandfather, he was pretty blunt, right? Which I think I needed sometimes. But he would look at me sometimes and I'd just be running my mouth, yapping, 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 yapping. Say, shut up, man. You know why God gave us 2 ears and one mouth? It's because we need to listen more than we talk. Literally, we were given 2 ears and one mouth because we need to listen twice as much as we talk. And so if you talk less and you listen more, it doesn't matter whether you're giving instruction and then getting feedback, or if you are giving a counseling, or if you're checking in with people and you're seeing how they're doing, but you only wave at them every once in a while, but you don't actually take a chance to say hi and listen to what they have to say on a regular basis. Well, then you're kind of failing because the relationship aspect needs to be there. You need to communicate with your people consistently and often, and you need to check in with them to make sure the job is going okay. Make sure that they're receiving all the support and the tools they need to do what they got to do. So the tactical lessons that I've learned, I kind of just went over them with you, but delegation is one important thing, along with communication and making sure that you're checking in with people. You don't want a high turnover rate at your business, so retention is important. And trust is earned by action. So delegation, communication, retention, and action. Trust is earned by action. You don't need to be liked, you need to be followed. So what I will also say, sometimes doing the right thing is not always the most popular. And so you can make the right decisions based off of the masses, but sometimes people won't always like that decision. So make sure you hear people out when they don't like it. You might be able to learn a best practice or an improvement and make things better moving forward. So this was kind of my podcast for this week. I've missed the past couple, and I want to apologize for that. But if you are out there leading, grinding, getting hit in the mouth on a regular basis, keep going. You're not alone. Let this podcast be your crew. Let it be your battle rhythm. Let this be a conversation that, whether you're talking to me or not, that you're having every week. And feel free to comment on this. I mean, if it's on Spotify or YouTube or whatever the case may be, make sure you comment on this. Let's actually talk about these things. Let's create a dialogue. I'm on your team. We're here to learn and grow together. So if there's a topic you would like to talk about, let me know. And here's my challenge for everyone. What is the hardest leadership lesson you've learned? Now DM me or drop it in the comments. Let me know. Now, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, share, do all the things. But the most important thing is to show up. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all next time.